that sound means it's time for us to go to work. Welcome to the Give Us the Dirt podcast, powered by Hoopah Grading Company. My name is Brandon Lindsay, and I am your host today. We've got a lot of folks that come to this podcast that have found their way into the construction industry because they like working with their hands, or they had a summer job doing construction, or somehow got involved in building things. I think this is the first time so far that our guest has made it to the Give Us the Dirt podcast by way of blowing stuff up.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is unique, and I love that. So we're going to dig into that. Alex Mowbray.
Correct, yeah.
His resume doesn't look like most of ours. For one, Alex left school at 16 to join the British Army. So you're going to tell really quick in this podcast that we are not from the same hometown.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I think that's fair, yeah.
Alex studied engineering and demolition at the Army Foundation School and became a Green Beret at 19. Alex served in Afghanistan in the 24 Commando Engineer Regiment alongside of American forces, and now Alex is a talent recruiter for the construction industry as founder and CEO of Amundsen Group. He joins us for the Give Us the Dirt podcast. Alex, it is an honor to have you here today.
Pleasure to meet you. Firstly, thank you. Thank you for inviting us down, and what an amazing facility this is. You know, every time I go around all Hoopah's either sites or your locations, it astounds me the levels that you're going to really push boundaries and look after your team. So, you know, I'm thrilled to be here, and again, thank you.
Well, thank you. This is a little outside the box for us, but we're loving the podcast, and I love that we get folks like you. You actually flew in for this today.
Yeah, we flew in, from Houston. Houston is our home HQ, but we do a lot of work out here anyway, and whenever we can, we try and get FaceTime with people. It's really important for us to build those partnerships, and there's no better way, even today with the kind of COVID era, there's no better way in meeting people in person.
Hard to have a relationship over Zoom.
Yeah, it sure is. It's not the easiest, but you know, it was. I think we're kind of getting back to some normality now, and I think in a weird way, construction led the way for that. You know, if you look at all the other industries, construction was one that was really adaptable and really forward thinking, and they. You know, I'm sure I can talk to you about this industry for the next 2 hours. I'm enthralled, and every day I love what we do and what we're a part of. But you know, it's a credit to the construction industry where we are today.
We're definitely going to get into that because you have a unique perspective of the industry that we want to dive into.
Sure.
But first, before we do that, one thing that we do here at the Give Us the Dirt podcast is, instead of you introducing yourself to our listeners, we want to know how your wife would introduce you to a group of people that had no idea who you were. What would she say about you?
I think that's quite a dangerous question. My wife's currently very heavily pregnant, so it depends what time and day that you ask her that question. Most of it, she would say, Alex is he deeply cares about the people that he works with. Every glass of water that he has on the table, he knocks over. Hannah, who's one of our directors with the group, is with us today, and I'm sure she's nodding her head and smiling about the fact that I knock everything over. But if my wife was really, really deeply answering that question, I think she would say just we embody even just true core values and really caring about the people that we work with every day. And I'm probably a little bit more old school in my approach, and especially I know you touched on my upbringing there. You know, leaving school at 16 and going to do the combat engineering course. We did bridges, mine warfare, demolitions. I think I'm very lucky. I mean, I've traveled around the world to Antarctica, towards the Middle East, all across Europe. So I'd like to think I have some depth in my thinking.
Well, let's go there.
I was giving you some there?
You know what? Because I'm intrigued by your story. You know, number one, I'm sitting across the table from a Green Beret, right? And the fact that you have been attracted to our industry somehow, I want to know that story. So walk me through.
Yeah.
Just tell us your story.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and give it as quick as possible. I mean, I left school at 16. I had a pretty tough upbringing, really, really tough upbringing to be frank. And I watched 9/11 happen, unfortunately, when I was pretty young, and I felt a sense of duty. I could have gone the college route, but I wanted to work with my hands, and I wanted to be a part of something special. And as I sat there that day, my kind of life changed. And even though I am British, you know, I felt you're kind of taught from a young age in England that American and England are best mates. And as soon as I could, at 16, I didn't even graduate high school. right? Which I'm glad this isn't a written test because you'd probably be able to tell. But yeah, I left school at 16, and then I joined the engineers originally. So that teaches you kind of mine warfare, bridge building. So I learned how to build bridges. You learn water treatment. You learn anything that involves engineering, building bridges, demolitions. If you look at that, so that top left picture there, that is, we've just blown up an IED in Afghanistan there. So, I mean, I can talk on that in a second, but yeah, I did the engineering course, and I felt, right, if I'm going to be with the best, I've got to go and really do it. And yeah, I passed the all-arms commando course. It was absolutely disgusting. When I got my Green Beret, it was one of the proudest moments of my life, but it was really only the start. And yeah, I think it was kind of 12, 13 months after I passed the course, I was straight off to Afghanistan. And yeah, flew in hot into Helmand province. It was an experience that was, it does shape you, but you learn a lot from it. And in a weird way, it was, I think if you speak to most guys that were out there, it was one of my favorite times of my life. You know, you're with people that, similar to the construction industry in the sense that you're with people all with the same goal together, all just trying to do good things and really help each other out. My engineering and my bridge building skills are not the greatest, which I think is why I'm now sat at this side of the table. You know, if you please don't talk to me too much about bomb disposal. As you can tell by that top left-hand picture, my idea was normally just to blow them up.
So you were much better at blowing stuff up than you were building.
Yeah. And my job is, I don't know if people have ever seen the films, but my job here when we were attached to American forces or SF groups or I think the Irish or the Paras, I used to basically put demolition charges onto hot compounds, and then people would go in. So I was that lunatic that you see in the films covering their ears, blowing stuff up, and then people go in. And I still to this day have no idea how I got into that. If you look at my engineering background, but I just hustled. I was just obsessed with it. And that was where the first time I really fell in love with America was out in Afghanistan. I don't know if you'd like me to touch on this, but
yeah.
I think if the people are listening to this and you know, they might go, hey, it's just this random British dude, but I really learned how much Americans love their country out there. And I mean, apart from swapping every bit of kit that I had, you do course swaps in Afghanistan, I just really was enthralled by the love that people had for their country, the differences in someone from Texas to California to Utah. And it was just my mission to come over here. And I studied America. I think I know more about American history than most, unfortunately. But the fact that you can become an entrepreneur, you can come and embrace the culture, and you know, you'd have to drag me with wild horses to go back and live in the UK. And I'm just so very grateful to live here. And you know, I think people laugh when I tell them it's a true story. I generally have a huge American flag on the back of my truck, and I have now a full set of veneers. So, I mean, there can't be many British people driving around with fake teeth and an American flag on the back of their truck. So I'm pretty recognizable.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So what was the thing that said, hey, I'm moving to the States? Yeah,
I mean, I got into the recruitment and headhunting space, and I actually met my first boss in Vegas. I'd like not to tell too many drunken antics, but it was over several beers that in a Vegas queue, this guy was just telling me about this industry, and I was like, all right, that sounds cool. You know, I'm going from being an operational soldier to this. It was a bit of a challenge, but it was one of very few industries where I could actually come out here to the US. And I was just like, right, what have I got to do to get out to America? And an old friend took a chance on me, managed to get me a visa to come and work out here. That was nearly 7 years ago now. And I moved to America. I was absolutely broke. I had a really old rundown apartment. If you ask my wife this, I had a TV on an old box that we got from Target and a bed that I couldn't make from IKEA. Right? Again, I'm showing my engineering limitations. And that was it. And by hook or by crook, you had the downturn, you had the crash of the oil price that affected a lot of things in Houston. And I was just a man possessed with trying to build the American dream. And I mean, you can see that the top right-hand picture there, that was after leaving my previous employer. We literally set my company up in my garage.
That's the office.
That was our first office, yeah. Our dog Lucy's there. It got a little bit, I think I had a phone call with you and our dog was going off in the background a year or so ago, yeah.
I never will forget that phone call. I want to tell that really quick because, Alex, don't take offense to this, but your industry, there are a lot of people that are in your industry, and we get calls all the time.
Sure.
And I never will forget your call because I was on the road. Yeah. I barely had any reception. So you called, and you've got this British accent. And I asked where you're calling me from. You said Texas.
Yeah.
Which that messed me up.
That threw you up, yeah.
And then you said, I need 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds, and if you don't like what I'm saying, I'll hang up. I won't call you back.
See, you've unfortunately now given everyone the blueprint of how I do my cold calls.
Well, it was great. It was great. It was unique. And
no, I say hold the phone up. If I can't, the last thing you need is me just verbally diarrheaing down your ears saying, hey, we're the greatest. And it's not. I mean, if I can't demonstrate the problems I can solve and help you in 30 seconds, you have full right to put that phone down.
Well, and I fully expected to. And at the end of 30 seconds, I said, I'm going to listen. I'm going to give him 30 more.
Yeah.
And I think we ended up talking for about 20
minutes. And I think, it stems from just real passion for this industry. And, I know you touched on there, we have a lot of competition, but the goal isn't ever to find people. And if that's where most people get it wrong, right? My goal, if you say you're my client, my goal is to help you achieve your business goals. All right. My goal is to make sure that you're in a position where you can grow your company, where we find individuals that are culturally aligned. It's very easy to change strategy for a business, but it's very difficult to change culture. And really what we're trying to do is, when I do that first phone call, is I'm trying to learn about you, right? Because I might be the wrong person for you and for your business. We take a very methodical approach in how we go about that. And I feel blessed and privileged to have partnered with you and also with other companies, but it comes from that initial phone call of learning about you, right? We can go into the depths of it, but it's a really methodical approach that we take.
Well, I think that's great, and that's part of the skills and the qualities that led you to start this company. So tell us about Amundsen.
Yeah, Amundsen Group. Yeah, I mean the name is a little different. And I'll tell the name of our company reflects a lot of what we try and do. Okay, so Roald Amundsen was if I get this right, is my great-great-grandfather. And they've just made a film about him. He was the first man to the South Pole. And the name he basically was...
Wait, did you just say they just made a movie about him?
They've just made a movie about him, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, you can watch it. It's okay. It's not the best. I felt myself really critiquing the movie, even though I had nothing involved with it.
I'd say you have all the right to. Yeah.
I think the name was really special to me because he really cared about his team, and he went over to exceptional lengths to look after his team. We have a big picture in our office of when they reached the South Pole, and we talk about our company is very similar to their expedition. But it's also quite similarly linked to your expedition as well, right? You're trying to achieve something special, and it's not easy. It takes time, but if you align the right culture and if you take a long-term view and you really care and have I think the world's changed, and you now need to have a go-giver mentality rather than a go-getter, right? So our aim was always to be the real market experts, but give back as well to the industry and really, really, really care about it. So that's where it stems from.
Well, you've definitely set yourself apart from others in the industry, and I want to talk about that. So you are working within a space that is affecting everyone right now, and that is attracting and retaining talent. And
sure.
So I can't drive up and down the streets right now without seeing help wanted signs or job fairs or it's a problem that is facing our country, but very specifically the construction industry.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the trends that you and your team are seeing right now, specifically as it relates to the construction industry.
Yeah, I think, and I'll try and answer your question in multiple different ways. I think it stems from a lot of companies are having to ask themselves very difficult questions. Right? The companies that have been very successful in attracting talent first look inwardly before they look externally. Right? As I mentioned earlier, it's easier to change strategy than it is culture. So the companies that are very successful have a very clear vision. They're able to articulate that vision to their employees, and they're also very aware of what they are and what they're not. Okay, I think a lot of challenges come, especially, and it's both on employee side and employer side, where they run before they can walk. Right? I'm sure you've seen this yourself, where there's multiple companies and like, hey, we're gonna triple in size. You know, okay, but why? You know, what's the purpose? You know, because You've got to be stable. You've got to really think why you're doing this. And if you get the why right at the start, the rest is a little bit easier. The other thing as well that people have to look at, and I'm just going to give some advice to your audience here, is the way you define talent. All right. So we as a company, we would advise our clients and also for ourselves is we hire for values, behaviors, and habits. The rest you can change, right? If you're looking at previous successes of an individual, that's not necessarily a good look for the future of what someone's going to do, right? So we're always looking. You know, sometimes you'll see some people that are brilliant performers, but they might have not got the rub of the green with their employer, or you might have someone that's got a really sexy name and worked for a great employer, but frankly wasn't involved with really doing anything. So it takes that. I'm trying to answer your question in a roundabout way, but you've really got to pay attention to the values, behaviors, and habits of everyone. And once you've aligned that, then your vision, it makes it so much easier to go and attract.
I want to dig into that a little bit because I think that's one of the things that makes Amundsen so much different than everyone else. And you talked about number one, a company that's struggling attracting talent can't just come. You're saying they can't just come and say, all right, I'm going to hire Alex, go out and fix this problem for me.
Yeah.
You have to look inward first. You have to deal with yourself. You have to understand who you are and be able to articulate that.
Sure.
Which is a big deal. That's a huge undertaking in itself. Alex, and no matter how great you are in your team, you can't go out and fix that problem.
No, and I think it'd be unfair to fix that problem, right? You know, it'd be unfair of us to go and do that because it's not fair of the people that you're going to go and attract, right? I think an amazing thing about Hoopoy, you look back to our first conversation, is you were very clear on your vision of what you wanted to do. And it takes a certain type of person to be successful in your company, right? So one person that will work great with you might not be perfect for someone else. And that's where you take that methodical, painstaking approach before we even present someone to you. Excuse me. So yeah, you have to look inward first. You absolutely have to. And the days of people taking a job just for a job, or especially in a competitive market, the way people are making decisions about their next job has drastically changed, right? If you look at any person now, before they make a move, they'll check their Glassdoor, they'll check their LinkedIn, they'll check their social accounts, they'll check if they've got mates working there, they'll look at your core values, they'll look at the long-term aspirations. The days of saying, hey, look, here's a truck allowance, here's some money a week and an insurance plan are frankly dead, in our opinion. And that goes all the way down to, you know, the pipe hands, the operators. You know, you look at your success, right? You spent God knows how much money building an academy just to solve that problem. But that problem probably originated from you being self-reflective and saying, hey, this is an issue that's affecting the industry. And then you've been able to exponentially grow, right?
I think that's interesting. I want to hear more about that because I think you've addressed a couple things. One is, as an employer, we have to look inward.
Yeah.
We have to work on ourselves. We have to understand who we are and articulate that.
Sure.
And then as we're looking at attracting talent, defining that talent by understanding their values, their their habits and their behaviors.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
So that's what the employer should be looking for. What is the employee looking for from the company?
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Because that's changed a lot.
I think it's a two-way question, right? So the employee has to look at themselves, right? I know when we first met, you talk about the Jocko Willenick book of extreme accountability, and I think that's probably the first lesson that employees have got to look at themselves, right? It's no good saying, hey, I'm going to a potential client and having a list of demands and saying, I want this, 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 and this. The first thing an employee's got to do is assess what value they bring to an organization, right? And then, okay, here's a phrase for you. You are paid in proportion to the difficulty of problems you solve, right? So as you're seeing the construction industry grow now, it's because the problem is becoming huge. Okay, so if you can really understand the real intricacies of what you do and be reflective, and if you're a pipe foreman and your next moves to a superintendent and you say, hey, look, the skills that I need to obtain are A, B, C, D, and E, and as long as you are able to understand that rather than saying, hey, I deserve it, you know, that's a big way forward. And the employees that are self-reflective, and I say employees, they're really more partners nowadays, right? They're the ones that go really, really far.
Are you seeing more of that nowadays of a generation of I deserve it? Talk to me about the generational differences that you see, because as employers, we see a difference. Now there are some good differences, and there's some differences that we've had to adjust to.
Yeah, I think that the people coming into the job market today have the greatest opportunity to succeed than any other prior generation, because the bar, frankly, is quite low. And they're now, whereas before, when I was growing up, I had to go to a library and look encyclopedias, I still remember the days of dial-up internet. So I'm just going to show my age here now, but we're flooded with information in the world. And we're also flooded with employers being inwardly and accepting it. And those that choose to go into such a great industry like construction and really work hard, the world, it's your oyster. It is a challenge, this demand attitude. I think that comes from many, many different things, and it's quite a difficult question to answer just doing it in such a short period of time. But it does cause challenges. Let's be real with it. It is a pain when you've got a 17-year-old coming out of college and demanding XYZ. It's because they're put on a pedestal. All right. I left school, like I told you earlier, at 16. There was never a point in my life where I was told I was great, like ever. And I think if you look at the educational system and they're told, hey, you go to this college and you're the greatest, and you do this and you're the best, and rewarding non-performance at a young age, and it just creates a whole host of problems.
Well, it sounds like that's something that you like to tackle head on when you're working with a new client, that number one, you want to understand their why.
Yeah.
Like, what are you looking for? Why is this important to you? And then making sure that they also understand their value is based off the problems that they are able to solve.
Yeah.
And I love that. That is, you're paid in proportion to that.
Yeah, sure.
That's a great perspective on
it. And it's also, the first thing that I would, let's just say we speak to people and they say, I'm worth this. I'm like, can you quantify that problem? Right. And it's the same for an employee, right? If you have someone that can solve a big problem for you, you're going to look after them. But also the training piece comes in, right? We have, and especially for our business, before we teach anyone anything, we look to build the person first. We will hire for values, behaviors, and habits, but we'll have we make a huge investment. I think with one of very few business, we have and you've got to get her on this. She's incredible. We have a head of performance. And so basically her job is to look after the mental health and the performance coaching of individuals. And that was one of the best decisions we made. And that type of Kaizen-like methodology of continually looking to It's a growth mindset, right? And we look to build people first before we give them the tools that enable them to succeed in the role. And that's the investment that we make. And I think they're kind of similar to the investment you make, right? You know, you've got operators that come in here and they, frankly, some of them might not have very little experience, and you've given them a huge opportunity. You're training them from the ground up. And when you have an opportunity where you can learn and earn, like you offer, you know, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that's interesting. And you know, I want to. I wish we had more time on this, Alex. I could pick your brain all day because this is fascinating to me, but we don't. So I want to get into a little bit about, because I want you to be able to offer some advice to business owners on what we need to do to address this problem. We've got a very significant problem facing us as business owners on how to attract and retain talent. Yep. So talk to us now about what makes let me back up.
Yeah.
We have a love-hate relationship with people in your industry, right? You guys solve problems for us. Alex, you and I have gotten past it because we have trust and we have a relationship and we've been able to build that. But your industry in general, you make money off people that are unhappy in their jobs, that leave their jobs. If they're happy and they're not leaving their jobs, you've got no clients. Fair?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Tell me.
I would say that's a big assumption.
Okay.
I think that's where my first point I talked to you about our first phone call, right? If you look at, let's use a really live example that we had, and let's not name him here. We had an individual that joined your business after 27 years with the company, right? You can't quote unhappy, because people change and people want different things as they go forward in their career. A lot of the reasons why people can lose high performing individuals is, if I give you one top tip, is communicate. I'm deadly, and it's especially important to people that have been with an organization for a long, long time. You have to be able to communicate to your individuals, tell them the long-term plans for that individual, how you're going to back them, what, and that you believe in them, right? You can't just put all your plans looking at the front end of attracting people and not look after the people that have been with the business for so long. Otherwise, that's never going to change. Right, and your question about a love-hate relationship, okay? We are fundamentally different as a business compared to 99.9% of businesses out there, right? We're a headhunting company, okay? And the difference between a headhunter and a recruiter is very, very vast, right? We don't typically look for people that are just looking for a role. Right, we partner with the top 1 to 5% of the industry. We have a very New England Patriots model, if that makes sense, right? We unearth hidden diamonds and we give them the opportunity to show their value and also show prospective employers their value. We also are very selective about who we work with. We do not want to work with everyone. Okay, we have a very strict criteria of who we do partner with, and when we do partner with them, we're trying to help shape their future as well. It's unfair of people when we go to the industry, it's unfair to not make people aware of what's out there, because they might have employers that have treated them not very well. And, you know, attracting individuals is a major problem for a lot of businesses, and that's because they don't know how to do it. You know, and they haven't, like yourself, they haven't looked inwardly, and that you need lots of touch points, right? You've got a lot of the social presence, you've got a lot of telling your story, right? If you come back to how people make decisions emotionally and they justify with reason, right? It's the same reason why our wall is top or we've got red behind us. It's an emotional connection. And once you really understand the emotions of a business or emotions of an individual, and you can help articulate that and help rationalize that, then you get something that's really pure. Right? And then you understand the bigger picture, right? Another difficult answer is a lot of people leave their jobs because of their boss. And you might have someone that's been with your company for 20 years, but if you have people that are leaving their team, that's a difficult question you've got to go and answer. Right? And it comes back to the case of communicating, right? That manager or that director or that vice president might honestly need upskilling. So there's a whole host of ways and means abouts, but it really comes down to giving a damn. I mean, that's as pure as I could say it. And continually giving back. We really care about everyone that we work with. And we're very selective about who we work with. And we employ people, I'll give you a little hint here. We hire people with very, very high empathy levels. People that score very high on a Hexaco test, if you wanted a test to look at. We don't hire people who are in this for a quick buck. It's not about that. And it's about helping build businesses. And that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's why I flew all the way here last night, is because I love your journey. I love the fact that what Brian's trying to achieve, what certain people in your business have gone through. You've got a picture wall as soon as we walk in there, right? That's what it's about. It's about the construction industry is so incredible, but yet so undersold, right? You are literally building America. How can you not be excited about that, right? You're not just laying pipe. You're laying the future for households, for people. You're moving huge amounts of land, right? And it's getting people comfortable and getting people really loving what they do and being passionate about that. And I mean, Hannah's joining me today. Hannah later on, I'm sure she's going to try and get herself on an excavator. We think it's incredible.
We can make that happen.
I will warn you, anyone that knows Hannah, just put one eye on her. I think she'll end up being seriously one of your operators next week. She loves it.
We may have to test her out on the simulator first. Yeah. If you pass the simulator, we'll put you on the real thing.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, thank you. And that's what I wanted to flush out. And I appreciate you explaining the difference between headhunting and recruiting.
Yeah.
And I do think that's one of the things that makes you and your team different.
Thank you.
And we've experienced that personally. So I appreciate you sharing that. One of the things that we want to... Let's have a little fun right now, because I always...
This has got me nervous now.
No, this is good. I want you to talk about, like, the first time you sat down with Brian and myself.
Yeah.
Like, we talk different than you do, Alex. Like, you are in an industry in the South, in the construction industry in the South. Like, what has been the hardest challenge? Are there words that we use that you are hearing for the first time?
Oh, yeah.
What are
Even now, after 7 years... so you want some examples?
Yes.
Okay, so... And I'll try and make them a little humorous. I love America, but some of your terminology is interesting. Let's give you an example. Horseback riding. Right, where else are you meant to ride a horse?
We just want to make sure you understood.
Yeah, but I mean, how literal do you need to be? You've got sidewalk. Like you're giving someone instructions of where to walk. That's quite interesting. Waste paper basket. I love that one. Right, you've got to describe what's going on and where it is. But yeah, I mean, it was very challenging. Right, you speak to people and the first thing they'll say is, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Well, I know all my y'alls. I live in Texas. I can't."
So you will drop a y'all into a sentence.
I love a y'all.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. And the hardest word to say is water, right? If anyone wants to speak British, here's a top tip for you. Replace your D's with T's and vice versa. So we would say water and you'd say water.
Water.
Yeah. And we would say ghetto and you'd go ghetto.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's true.
So what happened, the only problem we have though, is that when we speak to people, they start trying to impersonate us. And we have clients and candidates that do it and they're like, but they go very Mary Poppins. They go, "Oh, hello, yes, I would like to apply for the opportunity that you were talking about." And you're like, "Steve, you're from Charlotte, mate. I mean, I know where you're from."
If I could do it, I would totally do it. Like you are the voice that my wife picks Siri to be on her phone, right? That is your voice that she picked on there. So
it does have its issues.
Yeah,
because you're immediate. Okay, so we have to work really hard to gain trust on a phone call, because the first thing that you said earlier is, hey, where are you from? Right, which is slightly an aggressive question, and we then have to kind of backtrack and say, hey, look, no, we're an American business, we're here. And I just want to put this out there as well, like we are so proud to live and work in America. Like, I mean, there's a lot of bad press that's going on, but, you know, my wife's American. We've got a kid on the way that's going to be American. Like
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's, it is a challenge, the words. But what I'm enthralled by, and I'm continually, like one of our core values is continuous improvement. And like we're obsessed. We're trying to learn about it.
We'll put you through some classes here at the Academy.
Again, I would direct those questions to Hannah. I think she's probably going to be better on your similar. The first thing I talked about was knocking over water. Yeah. So there's no way I could ever make a pipe form or an excavator. It's never going to happen.
Man, thank you for putting up with us and talking. So rapid fire right here. This is part of what give us the dirt. So number one thing an employer could do to attract talent.
Self-reflect first.
Self-reflection.
Yep. And really understand your value proposition. Really assess your competition, how you're different. You know, a top tip as well is people are going to have to upskill themselves on interviewing. It's an art. I know we talked about this as well, and you guys are absolutely killing it.
Number one thing that a company can do to keep talent.
Communicate.
Yeah. And number one thing you would tell a employee that's looking to be placed within a company.
Take your time. Think about how you want to feel when you drive to work in the morning is a big one. Don't chase a paycheck. It's not worth it. Look at the values and behaviors of a company. Think about when you're assessing an employer, are they in a position to get me where I want? Pick managers, not companies, right? Because some incredible managers work for some potentially some difficult clients, but go and cut your teeth with people that are going to take you to that next level. And think about when the poop hits the fan, for want of a better word, where do you want to be? Right? Mm-hmm. Because your employer's got to ask very difficult questions of themselves. And you want to be with an employee that really, really goes above and beyond for their team, their employees.
That's going to look after their team and has stability.
Yeah,
offer.
Absolutely.
Agree. That's great. Alex, how can people find out about Amundsen?
Yeah, sure. So all social channels, we're amundsengroup.com. Our LinkedIn on your website goes live. I'm sure you'll all see us on LinkedIn. And yeah, we'd love to partner with people, and also, whatever we can do, even if people are just looking for a little bit of advice, right? It might be from a potential candidate or an employer. Even if we can't help you out, trust me, we will go to exceptional lengths to over-deliver. So whatever we can do to help as well.
Well, thank you. And we'll post the links when the podcast drops. We'll make sure that everyone knows how they can find you. Alex, I want to thank you for coming out today.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank you. You have been a great partner to us at Hoopaw Grading Company, and I know so many others in the industry. So thank you for your unique perspective on a very difficult problem that we're facing.
Yeah, and credit to you guys as well. Thank you on behalf of myself and the Amundsen Group team, thank you for really taking the initiative to do this. I know you're the first in the site development space to do this, and it's a real pleasure to sit in front of you and do this today. So again, thank you so much.
All right, let me get a y'all from me before we go.
Well, it depends. There's quite a few different y'alls, isn't there?
See y'all later.
Yeah, see y'all later.
Perfect. Alex, thank you.
Thanks, mate.